Hello everybody.
Next up we face Everton at the Olympic Stadium. Kick-off's 3 p.m. on Saturday, and as far as I can see there's no engineering works in the area, that I can see anyway. So, just the usual standard rubbish to contend with then. The Toffees. Well, it's nice to be able to write about a club that is arguably in a worse state than we are at present. Defeats and a load of draws meant that it didn't actually win a game until mid-September. Have a guess who they beat. They followed that up with a win down at Southampton, but since then it's been one win against the hot and cold Palace, 2 draws away at Fulham and away at Man City, and 8 defeats, with Man United, Spurs, Newcastle, Leicester, Bournemouth, Wolves, Brighton, Southampton all taking away 3 points from their encounters. That last defeat to the Saints, 2-1 down at Goodison last week, was particularly damaging since Southampton's own parlour state might have taken them out of the equation for safety. It's left Everton second bottom on 15 points, above the Saints and below us, both on goal difference. In our case, we've conceded 1 fewer goal than them. Now, it continues to be a mystery, to me at least, as to why their manager is still in a job, or even has one in the Premier League in the first place. His first managerial role saw him struggle to 6th place and then beaten in the Championship playoff final. This was despite his being able to call on Chelsea's loan stock, including Declan Rice's mucker Mason Mount. This failure was enough to persuade Chelsea to take on Lampard Jr. He lasted a season and a half there, much of which was spent having to talk to players through Petr Cech on the grounds that they refused to talk to him directly. You'd have thought that situation might have been enough to put future employers off. I mean, having a squad all saying, "Tell the manager I'm not talking to him," like an excerpt from some family-based sitcom, doesn't exactly inspire confidence. You'd have to be a bit desperate to sign a manager with that on his CV, wouldn't you? Fortunately for Lampard Jr., Everton were that desperate, and after only a year at the job centre, he ended up at Goodison. His first 5 months were far from plain sailing, and it took a final day 3-2 win over hot and cold Palace to secure safety. Everton were in fact 2-0 down in that game, and the fact that they relied on the 1,000,000-to-1 shot of Dele Alli actually having a decent game should have rung alarm bells somewhere. Not with club owner Farhad Moshiri, apparently. He's been quoted as saying Lampard Jr.'s job is safe. As usual, Daisy was much relieved to discover that there'd been no new signings in the current window, well, unless you count the return of on-loan striker Ellis Sims from Sunderland, which Daisy doesn't. It's possible that financial constraints may be an issue. Every time there's an update on their new stadium being built out in the docks, it seems to involve a massive increase in costs, which won't help things much. They were apparently in for some chap called Ings, of whom more later. He elected to go elsewhere, though. Their local rag, The Echo, took time out from its daily routine of extolling the virtues of installing solar panels underneath Jurgen Klopp's backside to suggest that former Bournemouth striker Arnaud Danjuma might be on his way on loan from Villarreal, where he's said to be a bit out of favour. However, Daisy says that there's no confirmation of such a deal having taken place just yet, which indicates that the midday deadline for any sort of involvement this weekend has passed. They've got 4 players on the injury list, none of whom it appears have any chance of a game this weekend. Nathan Patterson, who was Benitez's last signing before he got his P45, has a knee problem. James Rockford-Garner and Andros Townsend are both out until next month with back and knee issues respectively, whilst Michael Keane also has a knee problem with no return date in sight. Shall we move on then to the wild and wacky world of association football? Yes, why not? And we're hearing from the north that Sheffield United have been placed on a transfer embargo for failing to actually pay for a player or players purchased. Not for the first time they've been caught breaking the rules, but as ever the hypocrites have gone all quiet over the prospect of some form of points deduction, of the sort that they were so vociferous about a while ago. Funny that. Meanwhile, crisp salesman Gary Lineker found himself on Newsnight of all programmes the other night as a strategically hidden mobile phone went off on set, playing the sounds of somewhat adult nature live during BBC's coverage of Liverpool's anti-football win against Wolves in the Cup. If you'd told me that I'd be talking about a porn scandal, I'd have been terrified, quipped Lineker. Yeah, don't worry, Gary. That particular part of your past will catch up with you sooner or later. And so to us. Last week's defeat was an identikit West Ham defeat, wasn't it? Brightish start, a silly goal, yet another one from our own corner, and no idea how to break down a defence that has the slightest whiff of organisation about it. And on those rare occasions that we do manage to contrive an opening, we don't finish it. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I could prepare this bit of my previews on a template for each week and save myself a bit of time in future. Of course, we have this week taken steps to rectify at least one of the issues bothering us at present, that being our failure to actually put the damn ball in the net. So, welcome on board to the man with the apparently incomplete surname, Danny Ings. Ings has a penchant for claret and blue, arriving as he does from Villa and having Burnley on his CV. His early career showed a lot in the way of international promise, but that all stalled when he left Burnley for Liverpool. After making his debut against us in our 3-0 win up at Anfield, he managed to knacker his knee ligaments in what was his first training session under Jurgen Klopp. Although he did come back, he had the misfortune to do something similar to the other knee, and by the time he'd recovered from surgery on that one, Liverpool had found lots of new divers. Ings' departure to Southampton looked like a bit of a homecoming. He hails from that part of the world, so it was a bit of a surprise to see him move on to Villa in 2021. Daisy's research suggests he's been known to take penalties from time to time, scoring 13 out of 14 in his career. That gives us another option in an area that's been an issue for us in recent times. He's also had involvement in a charitable foundation that does sterling work in the field of disability sport. So, welcome on board, Danny, then. All we ask is that you be any good. No pressure. On the injury front, we're down to 3. There's a small chance of Areola being on the bench following his groin strain. Scamacca is out, though, with a knee issue. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but I always get concerned with players who pick up injuries shortly before the closing of a transfer window, following Benrahma's mysterious knock that kept him out at the start of a season, only to heal itself mysteriously once the window had shut. Then we got Cornet, details of whom get more and more bizarre by the week. Last time we told he'd gone to Paris for an injection on his enigmatic calf. The latest info quotes Mr. Moyes as saying, "I've not asked how his injection went and they haven't come and told me." That suggests an air of exasperation on the manager's part. It also suggests that the club may not be in control over the player's treatment. Baffling to be sure. At the time of writing, it appears that the mechanics are in progress to arrange the transfer of Craig Dawson to Wolves. The deal is yet to be completed, and I'll comment further in these pages if and when he goes. So, on to the prediction. Well, when you're in the position we are, any boost can have a massive effect on the side. A couple of seasons ago, the arrival of Jesse Nobody Loves Me Lingard gave a kick up the backside to push the side up the table. On the other hand, Everton will be seeing one of their targets line up against them, with protests aplenty last week also ensuring that directors stayed away following, quote, credible threats, unquote, to their safety. Whether Ings starts or not will be an interesting point. Normally, a new player signed with little more than 24 hours before kick-off would start on the bench, but we live in interesting times. I'm going to be for us to be slightly less down in the dumps than them this weekend, and for the gloom to be lifted for at least 1 week. So, Mr. Winston, please put the £2.50 I was going to put towards replacing that mobile phone I seem to have lost somewhere up in Wolverhampton. Put it on a home win of, let's say, 2-0 to us. Enjoy the game.
We're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.